go on for a PhD, but he decided that he wanted to try out something on his own in the field of IT. He'll tell you more about it when he's here. And well, I have been in the private sector all my life, except for a few years. I was drafted into government service to work in the public sector during Mr. Bhutto's regime. That was for 4 years, from 1974 to 78, in the Fertilizer Corporation. And I see my friend Imran Yazi, who was with me as a colleague there. And so that was a very interesting part of my journey to work in the public sector. And I must say, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And so did Imran and many of his colleagues. Imran then went on to work for Coca-Cola, and he traveled all over the world. He served in Turkey, in Atlanta, in Japan, and finally decided to come back to Lahore. So Imran, you might show your hand where you are. Okay.
And that was Techlogix, sitting next to me, my wife. She decided to skip the chair.
I shall not sit next to you. Okay. Okay. Well, there should be on the other way here, but let me just briefly tell you my own background. I went to Mission College, then I went to Government College. I did my BSc. Those days you got your BSc, my 14 years of studies. And this was, I graduated in 1945, 2 years before partition. And then I worked for the family company organization, which was fairly varied. And then I went to America for a year to University of Michigan as a special student. I was already a graduate, but as I was going to work in the family, they said, you don't need another degree, but I was keen on going to America. At that time, business administration was a very novel subject. There was, I don't know any other country which had program at university level in business other than America. And so I spent a year at the University of Michigan in the School of Business Administration. But apart from attending classes, I took advantage of visiting a lot of industry in the Detroit area. As you know, Detroit at that time was the motor center of the world. All the large automobile companies of America were based in Michigan, in the Detroit area. General Motors, Chrysler, and Willys later on, and these companies. So then I came back and again started working for the family. Meanwhile, I was in America when Pakistan was created. I missed the transition from India to Pakistan. I went out as an Indian and came back as a Pakistani. I came at the end of 1947. The country was already there, but there was no industry in Pakistan at that time at all. I mean, there were 2 small textile mills, one in Hyderabad, which was then in Malpur, and then there was one in Okada. Most belonged to people who were Indians. And one belonged to the to the Birla Group, which was a very large industrial conglomerate in India, and the other was belonging to the Delhi Corporation Group based in Delhi. And there was one or 2 small cement factories. One was in Wah, and the other was in Sakhar, Rodi. These belonged to again an Indian company. So Pakistan had to start really from zero, because during the time of the British, this area of what is now Pakistan, Sindh and Punjab, was really the granary of India. We produced cotton, wheat, sugarcane, rice, which was then sent all to other places in India, and there was no industry here. And of course, the main source of the army was from this area. The Muslims from from Punjab, Sikhs from central Punjab, and the Hindu Jats from what is now called Haryana area. So these were almost 75% of the Indian army was from this area. So, and then when partition took place, of course there was a total void of this thing, and we were importing all our consumables, cloth, soap, oil, everything that we needed from India. And then, you know, this area was, some of you who know economics, was known as the sterling area. We belonged to the area where the British pound, your currency was linked to the British pound. And in 1948, the British government decided to devalue their currency against the dollar. It went from $2.8 to the pound to $4 to the pound. And the entire sterling area, which was from New Zealand to all the areas which were under the British, devalued simultaneously, except for Pakistan. We refused to devalue. The government at that time felt that our exports were robust. We were exporting cotton, we were exporting jute from East Pakistan, and we did not need to devalue. The other main reason was that they wanted to industrialize, and they wanted people in this country to buy machinery with fewer rupees. If you had devalued to 4 rupees to the dollar, then your machinery would have been that much more expensive. Then India all of a sudden decided not to recognize your currency. So overnight, the trade between India and Pakistan came to zero. And so we had to then find new alternatives to sell our wheat and sell our cotton and jute, and import all our consumables from other countries. And that really didn't hurt Pakistan too much, except for things were much cheaper from India. But then we went for a rapid industrialization. And you'd be surprised, there were very few people in Pakistan who had any money to put up industry. So the government then decided to establish what we call Pakistan Industrial Development Corporation, PIDC, both in the west as well as in the east, where the government would set up industry, run it, and then sell it to the private sector. So a number of industries were set up. There was in the paper industry, there was there was a board mill in Nowshera, which was bought by the Adamjis later on. There was another board mill in Rawali near Gujranwala, which was bought by the Sethis. There was a paper mill set up in Chittagong called Karnafuli paper mill, and one in Khulna. So these were then later on privatized and set up. So it was quite a struggle, and it's a miracle that Pakistan survived, because most of the communists in India who were, of course, non-Muslims, and the businessmen in India, they went on a big campaign that Pakistan economically was not viable and they will not survive. And that was the challenge that the people of Pakistan, the bureaucracy, the politicians, the businessmen took that challenge and said, you know, we will go of this country, and we can't thank enough for what we have today. You know, and I started work on the 1st of January 1948, when there was hardly anything. The government was very, you know, for the whole of East and West Pakistan, there were less than 12 members of the cabinet in the central government. And Of course, the provinces had their own numbers, but these were all very small. The total population of Pakistan in 1948 was around 35 crores, which was, do I say right? Or 35 million, I believe. 35 million. But now it's 200 million. It's going to be over. So we've, you're 15 minutes late. Huh? Hello, Assalamualaikum. Okay, we'll go. Okay, okay. Good, so I have kept them busy in giving the history of Pakistan, and Salman is here. I briefly introduced him to you as a graduate from MIT, who embarked on a new journey in the IT world. So you can take on from there.
Sure. Thank you, and I apologize for being late. And thank you, Babu sir. So I'll just give you a sort of a 3-minute overview of kind of my journey and then we can talk a little bit about some of the other topics. So, as Babu sir mentioned, I was an engineer. I did my bachelor's and master's from MIT, and I thought I would do a PhD and I would start teaching and actually try and build a university of engineering in Pakistan. And then at some point I took either the right turn or the wrong turn, depending on how you look at it, and I decided I actually wanted to start my own business. Started with my friend and partner sitting right there, who was also at MIT with me. I think perhaps he seduced me and took me down the wrong path or whatever it was. Anyway, so we started an IT business, and that's what we've been doing for the last 20 plus years. We started this with about $1,000 of investment, which is all the money that both of us had put together. Eventually we've grown into about a 400-person business. We work in the US, Pakistan, Middle East, etc. As with any such journey, some of this, how did we get here? Some of this is, of course, happenstance, luck, fortune, because that's the way life is. Some of it, we hope, was some of the education and training that we got when we were in university. And certainly, I can tell you that looking back today, I feel that while we were in university, we overestimate the importance of the education that we're getting. It is very important, it's a foundation. But clearly, as time goes on, you need many other ingredients for eventual success, whatever that success shape it may take. Some of those components are certainly not components that are taught in an engineering school. So, or maybe they're taught today, but 30 years ago when you were in engineering school, nobody talked about interpersonal skills and ability to communicate, etc. All of this was felt essentially not relevant. They're really there to teach you engineering and analytical skills and so on. And of course, they did a great job of that, but they never told us about these things. And certainly, in business, that's a big part of your professional life. You have constantly selling something or the other. Either you're selling your own business, or you're trying to convince your employees to do something, or your business partners to do something. All of that is communication, etc. So that's that other 1/3. So 1/3 is your technical or educational foundation. The other 1/3 is all these other skills, etc. But then there's another 1/3 which is perhaps the most important, which is ultimately is there a moral compass that's pointing you in any direction? And that's something that certainly engineering schools never talked about it. I don't know if business schools talk about it. But that's a question that's very relevant in business, certainly in Pakistan, but also around the world, because there are many choices you can make any day and every day, and how you choose to make those choices in real time is obviously a function of your moral compass, and we can talk some more about that. But I think I'll pass it over to Omar, and perhaps you can.
So, Assalamu alaikum. Apologies for the delay in the rain. My name is Omar Khayyam Sheikh from HSN. I went to Korea. I did have a scholarship Worked as an investment banker, private equity in New York for more than 6 years. Came back to Pakistan to start my own business. I've been working here for 25 years. In between, I got an executive MBA from LUMS in 2005, winning the silver medal and missing the gold medal by a whisker, I believe. We have a different opinion with the manager on that. So I've been an entrepreneur here for more than 25 years, and as I was heading back to Pakistan to start something on my own, I used to have monthly paycheck coming to me, some profit sharing, some equity share of the firm I worked for, and then my partner. And when I was heading back with a wife and a small child, so one question that bothered me on the flight back was, if it ever became a choice between working in Pakistan and working with my morals, which way would I go? So the question is, do I grant a lot of power to the lineman, above the lineman, or the PTCL lineman, who can easily turn me on, turn me off. So I gave it some thought, and I eventually said, if it ever became a choice between living with my morals and living in Pakistan, I would choose to live in Pakistan. So 25 years later, thank God I'm still here and I haven't had to really think hard and fast about the life I left behind. So it's clearly, a moral compass is needed. The moral compass has to be fine-tuned and calibrated, given the times that we face. So a lot of these are gray area material. I was from a middle-class background myself, from a school called Aligarh School in Gulberg. I somehow made it to class 6 and 8 in Technical college. It was still, at that time, I think it was still, eventually it was more than 1,000 rupees a month. Tuition to be paid to HSC. So from middle-class background. And it's a question for individually for all of us. I think times are complicated, so some of the calculations have to be complicated as well. Looking back in time, I think that I've tried, and I'm from LUMS as well, so I've tried and I would urge everyone to be aware of the choices one is making. And sometimes you go with the flow, and some that I think is not right. I think that there is there's something in here that will call out to you, unless you really just muzzle your voice, and that's something else. But as a banker, as a financier, as a businessman, one is faced with some choices one makes. I'm an importer, so again, as an importer, I need to compete with other people in my trade, and I can tell you, and I've had this, debate, about, how do you value the goods that are coming in if you're importing. So my competitors, supplying tiles and furniture and other equipment, other things, they're going to the construction industry. So in order to remain competitive, one sometimes has to. So, a line has to be drawn somewhere. It's probably, in the case of Pakistan, can't be a 0 or a 100 line, I think. It's probably somewhere in between. But I think one should try to clearly have a moral compass, clearly know the choices one is making, and be very aware. I think one goal can be that you need to leave the world a better place. And on the balance sheet, you need to have more assets and more liabilities. So you can't really be a liability to yourself, to your family, to society. So awareness, I think, would be one critically important. And these choices, these selections, are to be made on a daily basis. As an entrepreneur, you have a very difficult environment. A lot of what's around here in Pakistan is really there to make you fail as an entrepreneur. All kinds of regulations. I have a notice from FBR from some days ago where I need to pay 825,000 rupees. I don't think I have to, but it's a notice. And then the gentleman is negotiating with our people, not me, but with our people. And I'm being very frank, so maybe somebody may not like what I'm saying. But, so he's saying, if you pay me 150,000, I will go back in time and withdraw the notice from the IT system. So the same guy who assigned the notice. So you can say I'm partner in and I'm also trying to run a business. I have family that I support as part of my business. So these are tough choices. I mean, so I think it's a lot of gray area. I mean, one can keep debating this, whether one should do this or that or that or that. I remember Abdullah Yusuf Sahab, when he was chairman of FBR, I used to know his, I think it was nephew, who said to him, Abdullah Yusuf Sahab was FBR head, you know, एक मैंने वो sales tax number लेना है, वो 10,000 रुपये मुझसे मांग रहे हैं. And Abdullah Yusuf Sahab said, just pay them. So he was FBR chairman. Then now it's automatic, but thank God for that. Now you apply, you want to make a private limited company, NTN is sort of automatic through the system, so that's great. So I mean, things are improving. However, I think that awareness and also trying to be sort of broadly on the right side of history as opposed to the wrong side. I think we have examples of people who've done financially very well in Pakistan. In fact, Javed Choice was a columnist. I asked him once. I said, you know, America में अगर कोई आदमी graduate हो फिर वहाँ से MBA भी कर ले, तो फिर one can sort of look at a trajectory, you know, how he will go. I have friends like that, Princeton, Harvard, Brown, Harvard, etc. तो वो एक ट्रैजेक्टरी सी मिलती है एलेक्स नेगा चार्ल्स साइंस का एशियन कॉलेज से और लोग तो मैंने कहा यहाँ पे मैट्रिक पास नहीं किया होता बंदा डॉलर में बिलियनर हो जाता है एक्चुअली इट्स ट्रू तो उसने मुझे कहा जावेद चौधरी साहब ने कहा कि उमर साहब आप कंफ्यूज हो रहे हैं आप कंफ्यूज कर रहे हैं अपने आप को वो एक अलग सिस्टम है ये एक अलग सिस्टम है I talked about it, I mean, I would rather not believe that because I also went on both ways. But you know, he said, you know, just keep your cool, keep your patience, and you don't have to be bothered too much. So, without much more talk from me, I think, and I think more Q&A will be probably more interesting. But that's sort of what I would like to say.
As I may have to leave earlier, so what I would like to suggest that we ask the audience to ask any questions to any of three of us, and if you ask me questions, then I'll disappear earlier on. So I'm sure that you want to sort of know more than what I've already said, but we'd be very happy to respond to the question. Omar has been very modest. He is the one who who's encouraged Pakistan to remain healthy. He is the largest importer of equipment for the gymnasium. Our gym here owes a great deal to him for his support in keeping us updated and giving us his products at a concessional price. And so I'm very grateful to him. So let's open up to questions, and then I'll leave to Salman and everyone to carry the discussion forward.
So do you think
if it is 50, 70 years back, you shared your story, and we all always love to hear from you. If today you have to set up packages, what 3-4 factors you have to adopt and you have to consider?
You know, I mean, most of the industry that we have been involved in has been sort of one of a kind. Packaging was the first packaging company in the country. Then later on we went for BOPP, that was the first of its kind. We put up a paper mill based on straw, which was first of its kind. So we thought that, and of course, we didn't do it on our own, individually. We sought partners who would keep us, bring in technology, bring in brand, bring in skill, bring in, tell us how to make a product. Because, and of course, the largest of the lot was the milk industry, which today is Nestle. And so we would put up high packaging today. Not to be born today, it wouldn't be packaging, it would be something else. So we were always looking for something which was needed in the country, and we didn't want to be in Me Too business. Please.
So I have two questions. Number one, do you think that big groups, business groups, are diversifying into areas which did not used to be their areas of expertise to start with? And do you think that they are also going into real estate? Is this a good sign of diversification?
Well, I mean, real estate is something that I don't understand at all. It's not something that excites me because there is nothing novel in it. Land is finite, and you go and buy land, its value will go up. There's no special talent that is required. So that has not interested me at all. I mean, I inherited a fair amount of property from my father, and I got rid of it because there was too much hassle in dealing with tenants and all that. But diversification, I think, is important because 80% of all issues and problems pertaining to certainly industry are common irrespective of what industry you have. You know, you have a customer, you have a supplier, you have manufacturing capacity, management. Management is a very important element in the whole thing. I mean, the man behind the gun is much more important than the gun itself. And so you need to have the right kind of people who will have the ability to take responsibility and take decisions.
And just one more, sir. What, in your opinion, is, this kind of sessions generally are there to, get people into setting up entrepreneurial activities. So, what in your view is the progression of SMEs, small and medium enterprises? Is it on the right path? Or?
Well, SMEs are very important. They are the backbone of any country's development. You have the large-scale manufacturers, then how do they get to the customers? And they need suppliers, and everybody cannot manufacture everything that they need for their own needs. So you need a whole host of industry to feed a large industry, whether it is, for instance, paper industry, you need people who provide wires, felts, pulp, paper, waste paper, and things like that, chemicals. So you need SMEs for any large enterprise. But what is very important and in businesses, and this is something that Salman and Omar will bear out, is, you've got to be efficient. You've got to have a better mousetrap than anybody else to succeed. But more than that, you've got to be ethical. You've got to be honest with your sub-suppliers. You've got to be honest with your customers. If you want them for a long time, you have to. Nobody can succeed on his own. It's the chain, the whole chain, what we call supply chain today, is everybody has to make money in it. You've got to accept the fact that your supplier has to make money. You have to make sure that your distributor has to make money, your retailer has to make money for everybody to survive. You can't be the only winner in this whole equation. And that is something that you have to be very conscious of. And each one of these links in the big chain have to work honestly. There is no substitute to integrity in working. I mean, you can't be successful in life in the long run if you're not on the straight and narrow path. That is my belief. Sooner things will catch up.
My name is Junaid, and I just want. My name is Junaid, and I want to see what are the business opportunities in agriculture sector for a young startup or entrepreneur. Agriculture and livestock sector.
Well, in agriculture there is whole host of opportunity. The linkage between the farmer and the table. There are so many different elements involved in it. and you've got to sort of work hard. You've got to be fair with the farmer. You've got to be fair with your consumer, and you've got to work hard. There is no such thing as easy money in this world.
So you talked about the PIDC about in the 50s and 60s, and we heard that it's a story for Pakistan. It's a great story. So what made it the real success, and why can't we repeat it today? I mean, we don't have much.
I tell you, there is only one person who made it a success, and this was Mr. Ghulam Farooqi. He was, I think, one of the great builders of Pakistan. I had the privilege of knowing him very closely. He started his life in the railways in East Bengal and Bengal Nagpur Railway in India. And as you know, the railways at one time were private companies. They were only nationalized around 1936 or 37. And we had Northwestern Railway here in Punjab. You had Great India Peninsula Railway, GIP, what they called, and the BDCIR, and the MSM in the south, and East India Railway in the east, and Bengal Nagpur Railway. So he got very, very good training as a manager. And he rose to the rank of number 2 in the Indian railway system before partition, in fact after partition. He stayed on in India. And when he did not become the number 1, then he decided to migrate to Pakistan. And we were very lucky that he came here. And his first job was Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Industries. And then later on, he was the one who then persuaded the government of Pakistan to set up PIDC. And during his stay in India, because he knew many of the great managers in India, different industries in different parts of India, and especially the Muslims, and he persuaded them to migrate to Pakistan to work in PIDC and set up these industries. And I can tell you, I inherited the fertilizer industry, which was a part of the PIDC, and then I added on to it new facilities. I would say 99% of the people who worked with me from PIDC in the National Fertilizer Corporation were exceptional in their competence, in their integrity, and in their commitment to do hard work. He unfortunately, and he was a very hard-working, he was a very unforgiving person to himself also. He worked very hard. He never said, stood any nonsense from anybody. There was no interference. He would not accept any safarish from anybody. And he had very competent people. Today, unfortunately, all the public sector corporations are infested with people who are incompetent. They are my relatives, your relatives, everybody's relatives, and you can't test them.
My name is Salman. My question is that out of the 4 factors of production that are taught in these halls, 3 are constant and only the entrepreneurial skill is the only variable. And we also know that about 70% of the startups, they do not go beyond the first year of the startup. So it's about 70% risk, 70-30 ratio risk to have a startup. So can you please enumerate that what are those traits or what are those qualities, the flair that it takes to make the startup successful?
Well, I mean, in the Silicon Valley, the mantra is that 1 in 10 succeeds, and it's luck. You've got to have a better mousetrap than anybody else. It's there's more entrepreneurship and more people with all kinds of ideas all over the world, but that 100 miles strip between San Francisco and San Jose probably has more entrepreneurs than the rest of the world put together. And their failure is not a failure. In fact, the person who started Uber had failed 7 times before. He declared himself bankrupt. And they say that failure is a plus point because you won't do that thing again. So in this country, unfortunately, failure is a black mark. And You've got to have the tenacity, you've got to have confidence in yourself, you've got to be obstinate, you've got to have a hide of a rhinoceros to believe in yourself when you come up with an idea. And it's luck also in what turns out to be. Maybe you can add something to it.
I think two other factors that really help you are to be as fearless as possible, and ideally, to be as ignorant in your youth as possible, because you actually don't know what else can go wrong, and you just dive into it. Entrepreneurship is you can't talk about it; you actually have to walk that walk. So then you have to dive into it. And, all the rest of it is out there, but there has to be because. For sure, this is guaranteed, whether it's a business or a startup, no business plan meets the test of reality. We all know that, right? So no business plan ever met the test of reality. So, you plan for it, that doesn't mean you don't have any plan, you plan for it. But then there has to be an element of fearlessness. That, damn the consequences, let's just go for it.
And what is important, sorry Omar, I'm stealing away your talk. You've got to be honest in your whole attitude. You've got to have a product which will benefit somebody other than you. If you don't have that, it won't last. And you should not be the only winner in this whole equation. You've got to look at the people who use it, can benefit from it, and it should bring a kind of a fruit of success to anybody who uses your product. That's why they won't buy it.
If I may add, a lot of these businesses we see these days are really looking at underutilized assets and then trying to monetize those assets by bringing buyers and sellers together, by creating a marketplace, and also looking at pain points, situations where there's a lot of frustration with the existing setup, which is not serving the customer well. For example, if the cars are available, people need rides, so an Uber comes in, brilliantly handles that, and it's a phenomenon. If rooms are available, that are being underutilized, and Airbnb comes in, and it becomes a phenomenon. Pakistani, for example, has come up with a program whereby somebody, let's say, who's going to travel Emirates airline without any luggage, or with one bag, maybe he's traveling with two, let's say, is able to sell the extra luggage to this cargo company through an app, and the cargo company, let's say, already has cargo available at Karachi airport that has to go to Dubai, for example. So the cargo company, in the at the 11th hour, will negotiate a great rate with Emirates. Tell Emirates that you will have 300, 500, 600, 1,000 kilograms worth of space available to you, because they figured it out. So they will pay some to the traveler, get a discount from Emirates, and everybody is happier. Right? So looking at assets that are underutilized, that will be monetized. It's a great way to look at it. For example, people have warehouses. So warehouse needs security, I could have my own products there, somebody else walks in, it could be stolen, so we understand it. But let's say there are cameras available, IP, let's say security is enhanced, let's say recordings are done. So somebody now can put in, let's say, a 40-foot container in my warehouse, I'm just saying. And with real security, so you can understand, if somebody tried to do something crazy there. So now you can monetize that warehouse, empty warehouse. I may have extra space. So I'm saying that in any economy, IT has been a great equalizer. We look at people like Oyo Rooms. I don't know if anybody's seen that website from India. The guy is a dollar billionaire now. He's a young man. Agarwal is his name. So the point is, if you look at assets that you think are underutilized, where the demand could be there, you come up with a platform, a marketplace, where the two can be connected. And sometimes, great things happen. They don't all have to happen in Silicon Valley. They can happen in Bangalore, they can happen in Lahore, they can happen anywhere.
I'll have to leave in 5 minutes, so if there's any questions at the
I have a question regarding the power industry. If we remember 15 years earlier, there was a power crisis in Pakistan. So government took some investors there, so many investors built their own plant. And now the situation is we have over electricity around 35,000. So many power plants are in pipeline. Many plants which are already built are at 50% load factor. So if you met ever with any investor who has our plant, what is his view about this industry, about
I know nothing about Palos, so I can't comment on. We didn't put up a power plant except for our own needs. Yeah.
सर दुनिया में फैमिली बिजनेसेस जो हैं वो ज़्यादातर हैं, जितने बिजनेस हैं पाकिस्तान में भी सिचुएशन है। और हम ये देखते हैं कि पाकिस्तान में फैमिली बिजनेसेस थर्ड जनरेशन नॉर्मली सर्वाइव नहीं करते। व्हाट वेंट रॉन्ग कि थर्ड जनरेशन सर्वाइव नहीं करते फैमिली बिजनेसेस? कुछ हमने ईस्ट पाकिस्तान में लूज की इंडस्ट्री, कुछ हमने प्राइवेट नेशनलाइजेशन के केस में लूज की, वहाँ जूट मिल्स छोड़ी, यहाँ हमने CM लतीफ़ जैसे लोगों को लूज़ किया। तो आप क्या समझ रहे हैं कि फैमिली बिजनेसेस जब हमारे हमसाया मुल्क में हम देखते हैं तो फैमिली बिजनेस सर्वाइव करते हैं 100 साल 150 साल, हमारे यहाँ थर्ड जनरेशन से आगे नॉर्मली रिसर्च कहती है कि 10% से ज़्यादा बिजनेस सर्वाइव नहीं करते। क्या समझते हैं आप?
This is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not only Pakistan. About 20 years ago, I was in Hong Kong and I went to the business school there, and the dean was an Englishman, and I asked him. I said, "What research are you doing?" He said, "I'm doing a research on Chinese families." And I said, "What is your finding?" He said, "It doesn't go beyond the third generation." So it is a worldwide phenomenon. There's a saying कि पहला जो create करता है दूसरा उसको बढ़ाता है, तीसरा उसको ज़ाया कर देता है. And I've seen that in Pakistan. I mean, the so-called 22 families देख लें आप से 25 साल पहले कितनी रह गई हैं. And it's all based on the way you bring up your children. You know, if your son at the age of 21 rides a Porsche, then at the age of 28 क्या चलेगा, किस पे हाथी पे बैठेगा? And the parents themselves are poisoning their own kids, and there is nothing that is worse for a young man is to have more money than he needs.
Understood. So,
Okay.
Thank you for all the advice. Particularly choosing a young experience over and above what
Well, I mean, I think women are as competent, if not more competent than men, and they have not had opportunity. And I'm very happy that we now have women who are going in for studies in business. And I must compliment Dean for opening up an opportunity for women participants in the MBA program. He's given them an extra incentive to join the MBA program because they pay half the fees. And I think that's I think the women are. I mean, you can see around the world. Only yesterday, at the age of 33, the Prime Minister of Finland was sworn in as the Prime Minister of Finland. I mean, in this country we've had Benazir Bhutto as the adjoining country. You've got Indira Gandhi was there, and Sheikh Hasina in Bengal. They are as good as anybody else. I mean, so there is no competence based on gender. You've got to give them opportunity. You've got to give them respect. You've got to give them what it takes to make a leader. No, I think, I mean, every household is run by the woman of the family. You know, so there's no lack of competition. Last question for me.
Sir, at the very early start of this conversation, it was mentioned that moral compasses do guide your business. So I want to ask that at times there is a condition that if you follow the moral compass, your business goes down. Like for instance, if I talk about the dairy sector, there is only just 5% of the milk that is being processed, and the rest of this is 95% is unprocessed, and that is earning more profit as compared to the 5% which is being processed. So what is your take on that, like moral compass versus more business?
Well, I mean, dairy is it's a sad story. And I'll tell you something I learned 70 years ago. A very good friend of our family, he was at that time IG of police here in Lahore, near Marili. And he told me that he, as a young superintendent of police, went to to England for training, to Scotland Yard. And when he finished his training on the last day, the person who was in charge of him asked him, is there anything that you wanted to know which we haven't told you? He said, what do you do about adulteration of milk? And he said that this police officer was taken aback. He said, can you adulterate milk? You know, your children live on it. And here, unless you have your own animal, you cannot swear that you got milk which has purity. And people who make a lot of money in selling milk today, unfortunately follow the route, and you know, they read the Quran all the time. Pura tolo, what does it mean? और बार बार उसने कहा है कि give, you know, डंडी को सीधा रखो. And people think if you don't put water into milk, it's not a good business. So, no, what I'm trying to say is that it's a sad commentary that, you know, the mosques are full of people who say prayers. Umrah bhi karne chale jate hain doodh beechne wale. And you know there is milk being manufactured without a drop of milk in it and is being sold. I mean, how criminal can you be to your own people? So it's a very sad story. The last question, I'm going to have to leave after this. I'm sorry.
Sir, मैं बात करना चाह रहा हूँ industrialization in Pakistan. Sir, 60s has been a good story और उसके बाद it's देखा गया है कि बहुत मुल्क वाला नीचे चला गया है. Smaller countries around us like Bangladesh or like Vietnam, Taiwan, they have come up very well. Where all we have went wrong in like 40-50 years.
Bad leadership. We have had bad leadership for the last 60 years, not last 7 years. It started with the Ayub Khan. He was the start of the lot. And you got him and then the army into it, and the bureaucracy into it. And then you had politicians who would serve the purpose of both the bureaucrats and the army. And the whole country has been destroyed by this nexus of people who were only looking at themselves and not the country. This मुल्क में democracy नहीं आ सकती जब तक कि unless you have a poor man who gets elected. And today, it's such a strong mafia that people who don't have money can never get elected. And when you spend money to get elected, then you want to recover that money. So that is, I'm sorry I have to seek your forgiveness for leaving you early, but you're in the hands of two very competent people who are 100 times better than I am. And certainly younger and more than me.
He has done and how he has led his life. So what's a framework for evaluating his life versus other choices that we can make? Because we know he is not, in purely monetary terms, he is not the most successful businessman in Pakistan. So who's the most successful businessman in Pakistan in purely monetary terms? I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's money to ask. Okay, so how do we evaluate that gentleman versus this gentleman? And what's the framework for evaluating? It's obvious. The answer is intuitively obvious. But the question is, how do you evaluate that, and how do you evaluate that in the context of sitting in a business school? So one way that I at least like to think about this is, you can see life as a series of games. When you go into, for example, MBA class, you're competing against people. It's like a game. You're competing, there's a competition, somebody comes first, somebody comes second. But it's a game. You can evaluate it as a game. Business is a game, you're competing against other people, so that's a game also. But it turns out there are two kinds of games. So one is a finite game. So for example, doing an MBA is a finite game. You're there for 2 years, done with, khatam, एंड में आपको गोल्ड मेडल मिला, सिल्वर मेडल मिला, या फेल हो गए, फाइनाइट गेम, फाइनाइट आउटकम. And the goal in a finite game is to win the game. It's like a game of cricket. A cricket game is finite. The goal is to win the game of cricket. But there's another kind of game, and that game is an infinite game. So what's an infinite game? An infinite game is a game that continues beyond anybody's lifespan. So what does that mean? Well, for one thing, every company is actually structured beyond people's lifespans, right? So companies have a existence that is beyond my lifetime. I may have started the company, but hopefully it exists beyond my lifetime. Right? So a company is like an infinite game. It's not a finite game, it's an infinite game. So what's the goal of an infinite game? The goal of a finite game is to win the game. How do you even win an infinite game? What is the point of winning and you can even think about life itself as an infinite game. Now you can take this approach to life. Your life is a finite game. And the game here is to get the most amount of money. And you know what? In Pakistan, we have a winner today. We have a guy who's won the game. Sheikh has won the game. No question. Hands down, he's won the game. But there's another view of life that says, even life itself, not just the business, but life itself is an infinite game. It's an infinite game because after I go away, will there be somebody left to take my name? 50 years from now, 100 years from now. And that's the infinite side of life as a game. And I put forth before you that if you think of life and if you think of your own business as an infinite game, then Babar Sahib has won the infinite game. And Malik Riaz is not even a player in the infinite game. He doesn't even count because it's self-evidently obvious. That's why I intuitively pata ki there's no competition. What are we talking about? Right? So when I think of, when I reflect on, what Babar Sahib has done, of all the dimensions that he's done it, and it's kind of almost mind-boggling, the dimensions of his life and everything that he's done. I really think of him as somebody who was playing an infinite game. He was never playing the game, whoever has the most amount of money is the winner of that game. He never played that game. But and the results, to my mind, speak for themselves. So anyway, my little 2 cents of wisdom on that, you can ask a question.
I think we are lucky to have Sheikh here. He's from here. Remember, he's been dealing with taxation and other things. So if somebody has an issues regarding the industry setup or taxation or revenue side, we can take care of it. And why I would use it, because I have employment for the last 30 years now. And when I was young, and he was also very young, and I can say proudly that we still have people in the office who have been absolutely clean, upright, throughout the career. And as a businessman who had been sitting across this table on the other side, I can very proudly say that he's one of them. Now we have carried that.
My name is Akhtar. I have been in the commerce for 38 years. I did a master in economics from the Hadayat. I did an MSc from Hadayat University in economics. I did a couple of courses from Columbia, from middle school graduate, from Milan, and then UPenn. So, both did. But I joined the commerce service in 1955. Joined into the service. Then went on. There were 2 turning points in my life. Earlier career, when I was a young probation officer, I was offered BCCI to join them. I was getting a pay of only 900 rupees in my service. BCCI offered me 10,000 rupees. It was a big amount then, right back in 1978, but I didn't go there. Then there was a turning point again for myself. That in 1988, I got immigration for Australia. I got a job in ILS there, but I didn't go. My wife said that what would I gain when we are going there? Do we have a better house? Would we have a better facility? Would we have better life over there? I said, no, you have a better life here, you have better facilities here. So we kept on staying here. So, Mr. Omar said, referred to one of my senior colleagues, Mr. Abdullah Yusuf. He used to appear before me, but later on became the chairman, he became a boss as well. Then Mr. Shepard, the current chairman, grew up before me. There are very peculiar circumstances where government works. The businessman and government have to coexist together. But the problem is that the service which I joined, it was a matter of pride for me. The service which exists today it's not a matter of pride for me anymore. I was the one who merged the income tax, sales tax, and the excise duty, and created the IRS for one good reason, that it is going to add more value to my country. But when I left the service, unfortunately, it went otherwise. The things are becoming more and more difficult for the businessman, for the people of Pakistan, and for the government service, for the government service itself. The issue is how to go about this thing. You as a businessman have to find out how to convince the government, how to make the government could create an environment which is conducive to the business, which is not here. And that is the reason. I was talking to Mr. Akhtar the other day, if I have to do business, I will not do in Pakistan. Why? Because if I have to give money, I would have taken the money. It was easy for me. It was easier for me to give money sitting in my office. I take money there, so I had to decide not to take the money. That's my option. You said infinite life and finite life. I might be having few resources, but I am such a proud man. Such a proud man myself, that I have respected myself in my life. And I have respected myself the most in the world. Because if I don't know how to respect myself, I will never be able to respect any other person. In order to save my respect, I respect you. You start giving respect to the other, you learn how to make your life easier. The business here have very difficult model. Government model is difficult, business model is difficult. Both are existing and ugly and not very pleasant behaviors. So what to do about this? That is the question which you have to see. All of us have to see. If you have to give money to get your job done, if you have to give money to me to get you down, then that is not doing the business. That you compromise yourself. And I'm asking you to compromise.
I think
so. This is the thing. This is the way we have to find out. And I'm trying to make it slightly more controversial and more lively. Give heed to the debate. And it's open for you. Any question you want to ask?
I'll just make a comment. While living in New York as an investment banker, there were other concerns, other considerations, other problems one would encounter. In a place like Pakistan, clearly, as you were pointing out as well. I think that, as I said, and as Salman also pointed out, again, this is a personal opinion, personal view, that one wants to leave the world a better place, I think. And therefore, whatever, as they say, I think Quran में भी है या हदीस में तो है कि वो relative marking हो जाएगी. So relative to how you live, where you live, the environment around you. So if we can, जॉर्ज बुश का ये कहना था ना 1000 points of light, वो उसका कॉन्सेप्ट ये था कि एक दिया जले फिर एक और जले फिर एक और जले, तो जब 1000 दिए जल जाएंगे तो अंधेरा खत्म हो जाएगा. तो द पॉइंट इज कि अपनी जगह पे एक सेंटर ऑफ एक्सेलेंस अगर बंदा बना सके, all relative. I've been very candid with you guys earlier already. थोड़ा सा सेंटर ऑफ एक्सेलेंस, तो वो उससे ओवरऑल एक्सेलेंस खुद ही बन जाएगी. I mean, LUMS is a great example. इनका वो जो चार्टर था एज ए यूनिवर्सिटी that was held up, CM साहब कहते थे मेरी 2 सीटें रख लो, गवर्नर साहब कहते थे मेरी भी, प्राइम मिनिस्टर की तो होंगी, सदर साहब की होंगी. तो the charter was granted to them for many years. Fact.
You have to be correct on this was the army.
Okay.
But you have the courage to say the right thing.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sorry, but the point is that individually अगर excellence को थोड़ा pursue कर लिया जाए, तो वो मतलब म्यांमार हो कि नाइजीरिया हो कि पाकिस्तान में बहुत फर्क पड़ जाता है. So I think when you defeatist, or I was doing well as a limited partner in a private equity firm. So the point is कि ये जो वहाँ मैं अगर कोई NGO बनाता, तो save the dogs type होती, कुत्तों के साथ क्यों हो रहा है? और यहाँ में मेरे पेन के नाम से हमने एक चीज़ बना ली है, प्रोग्रेसिव एजुकेशन नेटवर्क 62,000 बच्चे हैं स्कूलों में तालीम हासिल करें। तो वो इम्पैक्ट का जो सर्च फॉर सिग्निफिकेंस है, दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ ड्रोव मी बैक टू पाकिस्तान, या कुछ करिए, कुछ सोचिए, तो हो सकता है कि नहीं। तो वो पासिंग इन फॉरवर्ड जिसे कहते हैं, तो आई वाज ब्लेस्ड एज आई सेड, HSM, Columbia, LUMS as well. तो वो whatever you can do, whatever I can do, तो वो रोशनी खुद ही हो जाती। So I'm optimistic, generally very optimistic, even about Pakistan. काफ़ी सारे, आप नागरा ले लें, आप कई, मैं मोटी मोटी बात कर रहा हूँ, कई मोटरवे हमारी ले लें, कई चीज़ें ले लें, तो वो वर्ल्ड क्लास चीज़ें बन भी गई हैं, हो गए, मोटी मोटी बात कर रहा हूँ, मेकिंग जनरल स्टेटमेंट। तो वो कभी हो सकता है कि वाकई इतने सारे हो जाएं कि हम कहें ठीक हो गया, फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड सिचुएशन हो। आप कुछ समझ।
And just on that, on the sort of optimism note, I'll just make this observation that when Khayyam was acquired by Uber, right? So huge. Khayyam was the #1 success story in this region, tech success story. Obviously co-founder Pakistani. But interestingly, when Khayyam was acquired by Uber, the message that the Uber CEO sent out to Uber itself was that it's a great growth story. They've done phenomenally well, and they've really been driven by Pakistan. Actually, probably I would guess half of Uber Khayyam's valuation came from the success in Pakistan. Why? Because हमारे numbers इतने बड़े 200 million के बाद ही the numbers it adds up. जी.
So I actually have a question for both of you. I mean, one by one. So for Salman, my name is Rabia. I'm also from the class of 2001 from LUMS. I work as an investment advisor. So for Salman Saab, it was interesting what you said about 1/3 of sort of that sounded like a lesson you'd learned over time, that people skills and sort of the softer side of things. So talking of entrepreneurship, if you look back, like what advice would you give to your younger self? What other lessons have there been? And like what would you say that you could have done differently or learned the harder way? And how sort of those things have evolved over time. Should I just go ahead and ask Omar Saab as well? So you were talking about how it's sort of the trend really these days is to identify arbitrage opportunities in terms of monetizing underutilized assets. And I can see that coming from a sort of private equity background, you would sort of that would really call out to you. But in the larger scheme of things, in a country like Pakistan, is that really in line with creation of business and economic opportunities, or is that simply just sort of looking at arbitrage and sort of monetizing that maybe, and do we need to think a bit more about that?
Okay, so granted perfect hindsight, what would I tell myself? We'd be here all day, there would be so many things I would do different, right? But you never have hindsight. In fact, at any point, the information that you have is a tiny sliver of what the whole world is trying to tell you, right? So you're always in an imperfect information world. But one thing that I'd certainly tell myself is that almost always, looking back, I feel I was constrained by my own sense of limitation of what I could do. And that overcoming that, what you think is possible is perhaps the hardest thing for an individual.
With regards to arbitrage, I mean, the goal is towards efficiency. So, if you can make a situation more efficient, obviously, I think it's a good thing in itself. IT enables us to do many things that were simply not possible for the older generations. Big data and artificial intelligence on top of that. So I think that in an economy like Pakistan, 80s में तो textile mills type scenario ही था. So in the last 20-30 years, as we sort of get on the IT bandwagon, उसमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा opportunities हैं जो किसी भी smart बंदे या बंदे के लिए काफ़ी, और सारे का सारा जो genius है वो सिलिकॉन वैली में नहीं है, बैंगलोर में नहीं, कई किसी चीज़ें अफ्रीका से सामने आ रही हैं, etc. जर्मनी से आ रही हैं वगैरह. So therefore, I think one has to assume and have the right background in terms of education and some thinking skills and analytical ability. मेरा नहीं ख्याल कि कोई खास problem है. In fact, as I said, we have 62,000 children in our schools, in 15 districts of Pakistan. जो बच्चे, मैं जब इंटरेक्ट होते बच्चों के साथ करता हूँ, आंखों में इतनी चमक है कि वो एक हम वैसे पॉकेट पेंसिल बॉक्स है 15 रुपए का प्लास्टिक का, वो बच्चों ने सवाल किया तो फिर एक जिस बच्चे ने जवाब दिया उससे पेंसिल बॉक्स दिया, बुलाया सामने, तालियां भी बजी, तस्वीर भी थी। अगला सवाल करते हैं तो आधी क्लास आप खड़े करती है। तो एंड इट्स वेरी स्ट्रीट स्मार्ट बच्चे हैं, डिस्पाइट जो और स्कूलों में पहुँच रहे हैं, कहीं उनके पाँच पैरों में जूते नहीं। So I think as a nation, as individuals, I think Pakistanis are at par with the best of the world. ठीक है, टीम वर्क में इशूज हैं, फिर और बड़ी कहानी। So therefore, I think intellectual ability, problem solving skills, वो आपको इस कमरे में भी मिल जाएंगे, broader country में भी मिल जाएंगे। So now the question is, what efficiencies can you go for, and what kind of team can you build, and how long can you persist also? थोड़ा सा वो टाइम भी देना पड़ता है, क्योंकि कई ब्रिलियंट आइडियाज वैसे ही फॉर्म हो जाते हैं कि तो ये नहीं होता, ये नहीं हो सकता। कुछ टाइम दे तो वही चीज़ें आगे बढ़ जाती हैं। मूव फर्स्ट मूव एडवांटेज तो सेकंड मूव एडवांटेज की भी बात होती है। तो आई थिंक इट्स जेन्युइन मूव टुवर्ड्स एफिशिएंसी इज ग्रेट फॉर एन इकोनॉमी एंड सर
क्या वो हमारा टैलेंट कितनी कर सकते?
सर इसमें जो मुझे बड़ी इसमें जो
इंटेलिजेंस जो है वो तो
recent move जो towards उर्दू मीडियम है, मैं उसके साथ खिलाफ हूँ पर्सनली। I mean some of us should have different views on it. I think ये जो इक्वलाइजर वाली की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, तो जो आम नॉर्मल बच्चा है जो उर्दू मीडियम उर्दू में ज्योमेट्री सीखेगा, हम सिखा रहे हैं क्योंकि हम एक पेन अकेडमी बना रहे हैं, तो वो अजीबो गरीब अल्फाज हैं कि एंगल को क्या कहते हैं, और शुआ होती है, लाइन को शुआ कहते हैं, अरे नो दैट जाविया तो है। तो लेकिन इसके अलावा बड़े मुश्किल अल्फाज वो बाद में यूज़ नहीं होने, 10वीं के बाद कोई पूछेगा नहीं यहाँ कहीं पे। Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They said, why can't the Pakistanis can come over to China and teach them English? That was one of me also. Just tried and couldn't do it. You see, the most important thing is not the language; it's the content what we speak. पाकिस्तान में इशू सबसे बड़ा ये हुआ पड़ा है कि हम लोग अपनी इस लैंग्वेज के चक्कर में, अपने ग्रामर के चक्कर में अपना कंटेंट नहीं दे पाते। You look at the ministers, you look at the students or workers anywhere, वो इस दफ़ा कहते हैं कि आप बड़ी चीज़ें लेजी बोलते हैं, मैं तो he becomes shy in that. So don't be shy. Look at the Indians. Look, I have seen. Luckily, my business was such that I had an exposure of almost about 90 countries. So I've been to far-flung areas. I've been to Indonesia, I've been to the Bali and Papua New Guinea and all this. So I've seen people. उसमें एक बहुत चीज़ मैंने महसूस की, बहुत सी जगहों के ऊपर लैंग्वेज नहीं है, 3 लैंग्वेजेस बोल रहे हैं, 4 लैंग्वेजेस बोल रहे हैं, but they were never afraid to ask the question. So please, first of all, I will give an example. Never be afraid. Know yourself first. हमारी बहुत सी, I started off, my background is slightly different, I would like to say it now. I belong to an area which is called Nala Khurd. And my father was a bureaucrat before Pakistan, just like him. And then he left because he said कि मैं रिश्वत नहीं दे सकता. And he went to Oxford, upgraded himself, got his education, joined World Bank, blah blah blah. My family was, nobody was in business. I studied from HSM, from St. Batch, and then from GC, and then from there I went to Cornell. I worked 3 months in American Express Bank in New York, and then following my father's tradition, he came back. I thought I will not do a job, I will not be a bureaucrat, I will start the business. And can you imagine, all of my friends who worked with me, they all left me. I thought I was going to put up in a factory in Lahore. And above all, I never had money. With only $3,000 on 7th July 1983, when I was only 23 years old, I made a first startup. And alhamdulillah, it's success. And in process, over a period of time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was kind enough, we made about 5 different units. And went to the strength of about 1,900 persons, which is, I think, pretty good. Pretty good. I would say to all those young people that I've been coming to Rousing Center. I came after a very long time now. And just like following your footsteps, I thought, पढ़े लिखों को क्या पढ़ाना,
और रजियान की रजाना. So I changed my mind from LUMS to IBA to other universities, cadre universities, and NUST. I started going to the small districts. अब मैं सिंध में जाता हूँ, गाँव में जाता हूँ, and I speak to those typical degree colleges, FSC, metric students. My suggestion would be, first of all, please know yourself. मेरे पास बहुत से LUMS के students आते हैं. In fact, we educate them, we guide them, and this is my mission. I'm carrying a mission that we should become an entrepreneur in Pakistan. Why are you so afraid of doing business? You have so many things positive now in this country, which we had in back 1983. मुझे पंजाबी बोली नहीं आती थी. So I learned Punjabi because हमारे घर में उर्दू बोलते थे. I never knew what are mysteries. I used to look at his hands, they were dirty. Greased, blue collar job होती थी. मैंने वो सब चीज़ें सीखी, and I thought I have to, there is no turning back. I've worked for 12 hours a day for only 30 years of my life. आप यकीन it doesn't make take you anywhere wrong. And Babri Shah Sahib have been very kind to us. I would take the lead from this. I said, you see, it's very important that what are your skill sets, number one. When you know yourself, you know the skill sets. आपने इज्जत कर रहे हैं, मैं इनकी बात करूँगा. सबसे बड़ी बात है morality. हमारे पाकिस्तान में सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम ये हो चुकी है, हम हर चीज़ शॉर्टकट में चल रहे हैं. हम देखते हैं कि जी बाबरी शाह इतना बड़ा बन गया तो मेरी फैक्ट्री बाबरी शाह जितनी होनी चाहिए. या अगर मैं एजुकेशन तो सोचता हूँ, मैं कहता हूँ मेरा LUMS होना चाहिए. Can't we have those small moments? आपको उसमें सक्सेस मिलेगी, दिल टूटे करेंगे. अगर आप जॉब कर रहे हैं तो I met a guy, he was an Oxford graduate, working for, he became my relationship manager. Oxford graduate, he was getting 45,000 rupees salary. मुझे कहता है कि देखो बैंक कितना बुरा है. मैंने कहा बैंक बुरा नहीं, तुम पे ज़्यादा गुस्सा है कि तुम इतने बुरे हो. तुम्हें बैंक वाले ने 45 बुरा किया. Why can't just go out and make 3 times more? I mean, you can do it. So I'm also here, जी, हम senior लोग हैं. You can ask me any dirty questions. We started from scratch. हमने हर डिपार्टमेंट को डील किया हुआ. 35 डिपार्टमेंट्स, 28 डिपार्टमेंट्स, और कोई भी डिपार्टमेंट आपको कभी भी हंस के बात नहीं करेगा, कोई भी आपसे अच्छी बात नहीं करेगा. But we fought it. You can also do it. You can do better than us.
My name is Abar, and my question is for Salman sir. My question is, what is the future for big data and analytics in Pakistan, and what kind of challenges right now you are facing in Pakistan in that field?
Okay, so big data and analytics in Pakistan is of course just at the very sort of early phase of this thing. The interesting thing, okay, there are two totally different things that you can do, ways you can think of big data and analytics and machine learning. Let's say big data and machine learning, right? So one is the kind of thing that Google and Facebook and Uber are trying to do, which is really trying to advance the frontiers of machine learning and see what they can do. So that's one thing. And that is very difficult to do in Pakistan because we don't have the skills and the knowledge to do that. But there's another very interesting thing, which is that all of these companies, they've essentially made a lot of their technology open, they've open sourced it. So anybody can apply this technology to a whole host of business domains. So they've really democratized the use of machine learning. It won't be as efficient as the best guys in Google, but it will be 80% as good. And when you can start to apply this technology to an unexplored dimension, the whole world is open to you. And the other thing is that in some domains में आपको उस problem को apply करके ही पता लगेगा कि उसका क्या फायदा हो सकता है. But there's vast opportunity.
Airlift is the example. They analyze the data.
जी वो Airlift is an example where they're generating the data and analyzing the data. But the whole so we took, for example, LUMS ka data. We partnered with them. We took your data, and we said, okay, can we create a predictive model for what what a student grade is going to be? Because we did this work a couple of years ago, and at your midterm, we could predict your grade with about 85% accuracy. It was an academic exercise. We just wanted to see how it would work. But you know what? That would be pretty useful for a faculty member and for the student. I have a kid, who I have one kid that's two kids that finish university, one is in university. I know, kids can be seriously delusional about the grade they're going to get. I think I'm going to get an A, really. It'd be pretty good. If machine learning se pata lag jayega, you're headed for a C. It'd be good for the faculty member. This kid is headed for a C. That's just literally an off-the-cuff example of all these domains that are available.
I just have a quick question because we are heading towards the end, and I think the whole concept of this panel was to really think through and hear what is the changing landscape of business and what sort of opportunities exist. So I have a question for both of you because one of us from the import-oriented business and the other one is from the export-oriented business. Business landscape for some is very weak right now because everybody's trying to study business upward. On the other side, whoever is basically into the export-oriented business technology, and I'm one of them as well, they are definitely enjoying the kind of dollar hike as well as the export-oriented opportunities that exist. How do you see the opportunity or how do you see the current landscape within the business here, especially for the local business, people who are focused more on the Pakistani landscape, as well as how do you see or where do you see the pockets for investments and opportunities really focus on?
I think we're looking at a sea change in the economy, enforced by the current government. So it's clearly an import substitution strategy being followed. And therefore, people who can ideally over importers of products who can now start making them locally. I think there's some cover they have with regard to high import duties, high exchange rates. So they could actually have some breathing space to come up with products over the next 1, 2, 3 years and maybe get some traction in the market. So I think that import substitution strategy seems to be, there seems to be a consensus in Islamabad, the key decision makers, that they're going to stay on it, on message. This is absolutely true from discussions with a number of key decision makers there. So that would be one way. I think an economy of 220 million people plus, there has to be a lot of local production regardless. So yes, people like us are suffering who are in the import business, but I think the local economy, the government says will recover faster than we anticipate. Quoting Dr. Babar and assuming that is true, then I think the young people should be focusing on what they can do for the local economy. I think there's, for example, an opportunity, a great opportunity. The largest export from Pakistan, I really think, is manpower, actually. And, preparation of that manpower for the world market, training of that manpower could be janitorial services, could be an electrician, could be a plumber, could be an IT expert. I mean, and more energy could go into those kind of sectors. I think remittance is a huge component. So I think because demographics are favoring us, I think Germany needs 3 million IT workers in the next 10 years. The numbers are all over. Japan is shrinking population, a lot of European countries are. So I think those kind of opportunities could be there. The traditional exports, but if they could be coupled with branding somehow, I think वो easy path था वो spinning में लगा दें और दादा बनेगा और great cloth दिखेगा. I think that probably should be avoided. Bangladesh is a great example. So I think some branding, some finished products to the end customer. I think वो opportunities हैं. Local economy में opportunities आएंगी because of import substitution.
I just like to add, so a few years ago I read a book that I strongly recommend everybody read. It's called How Asia Works. And it's a comparison of, on the one hand, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and China, and on the other hand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand. So they're all, East Asian economies. They've all done relatively well, but the first 4 have done much better than the next 4. And one of the key things that the book highlights is the first 4 had an export-oriented, business development philosophy. The next 4 had an import substitution philosophy. And import substitution means tariff barriers, protected industries. Export oriented means you have to be world class because you have to sell to other people in the world. So import substitution is good, but really it's only a starting point. There's no reason why cars made in Pakistan can't be exported out of Pakistan, except that क्योंकि आपके tariff barriers है, it's the easiest thing in the world for Honda and Toyota to just make good money, hiding behind tariff barriers. So we have to really get out of this, get into the because fundamentally that's where you become world class. So you have to go to the global market. That's where the rubber really meets the road. ये आपका एक ज़रूरी है. जी.
So my name is Esin and I hail from a very small town of South Punjab, and I'm doing MBA in the 21 batch. So I have been attending these sessions. Actually, I have two questions. First, I'm starting an online retail business of Kusif. So, and I want to expand into export this January. I will be launching it under the name of Credit Show. So, what advice will you give me regarding that end? And secondly, I have a comment that I studied in a school that had yellow shalwar kameez as the uniform. And I've studied matric till then. But over there, I had been lucky. But most of my colleagues hadn't been so lucky because they were poor. But they had, I believe, they had much more intellect than me. But I am sitting here today around all of you people. And I look at Pakistan, I see that they also deserve a chance. We have so much capable intellect, but still Pakistan has is so deficient. So what is the reason? Is it the intent of us Pakistanis that we haven't been able to rise in the world just like other nations? So what is lacking that is keeping Pakistan behind?
Sure. So pehle on the e-commerce business side of the house, branding, that's it. All the rest of it is commodity, the getting an e-commerce shop, everything, all of that, the infrastructure, the technology, it's all been totally commoditized at this point. Branding. If you can hit that, then instead of charging $20 for that, whatever it is that you're selling, you could charge $200. We have a great example in Pakistan, which is Marco shoes. Yes. That's a great example. Totally Pakistan, Lahore based, $250 ka juta bechta hai. He can't sell it in Pakistan because there's not enough of a market in Pakistan, but worldwide he does have a market. And as to your second point, what is it that we're doing? Well, you choose to spend $10 billion a year on defending your ideological frontiers, so there's no money left over. To your point, absolutely, there's the huge amount of intellectual waste that happens in this country because of people. I mean, is there any doubt that we probably had another 10 Abdul Salams unheralded, बेचारे मर खप गए, किसी को पता नहीं लगा because वो पढ़ नहीं सके, because कभी स्कूल ही नहीं गए. It's obvious that there are.
I'd like to challenge you on that.
What's up?
If we don't spend $10 billion, we won't have this country.
That's absolutely, that's a great point. To which the answer was provided by that great patriot, Dr. A.Q. Khan. जिन्होंने आपके लिए एटम बॉम्ब एक्सप्लोर कर दिया था, बस ठीक है, आपको गारंटी है, चलाए उस पर, और क्या चलाना, बाद 10 बिलियन का स्पेंड करना, कर दिया तो जो करना. एनीवे देखिए ये लोग भी जा रहे हैं. एनीवे वो एक से उधर से पहले हमारा क्वेश्चन.
So I am Babar, student of MPA21. My question is very simple. What's the tipping point when you decide that you are going for your business, and is it good to chase it or let it come to you?
I think my view would be that, let's say you go into the job market, and let's say you were smart and you had a reasonably good GPA, I'm assuming on that. So somebody is willing to pay you 75,000 rupees, 100,000 rupees. Now, if you had funds or you could have access to funds, and you think your worth is much more than that, I would say take it down. आपको मार्केटिंग वैल्यू दे रही है, आप समझने के सब्सटेंशियली अंडर वैल्यू कर रही है, और मैं अज्यूम कर रहा हूँ कि आप स्पीच स्मार्ट भी हैं और इंटेलेक्चुअली भी स्ट्रॉन्ग हैं, तो मेरा ख्याल है कि आप फिर दूसरा रास्ता चलाते हैं.
जी सर, one last का then we come. जी.
I just want to ask a question from both of you gentlemen. You talked about manpower being our biggest asset, but drain is a fact. So what is it that will bring those young children, your children, my children, everyone's children back? Because did you see an opportunity in Pakistan that brought you back? Because obviously you did not have to, but you came by choice. So was it the business environment? Was it family? What was it that brought you back, and what would you advise to the others? Because we talked about Marport just now. Marport, they left. They haven't come back. Then they took money from Y Combinator, and after that, they never came back. They left for good. So they're not used to Pakistan now. They're making money for themselves and they're gone. So what is it that will bring the youngsters back to Pakistan now? If it is not just family money, what is it then?
So worldwide, which is the country that has a reverse brain drain? What's the country that has a reverse brain drain? Give me one country. China. China has a reverse brain drain. That is a huge reverse brain drain today. India is starting to get a reverse brain drain by the way. Why? Economic opportunity. You can't put the cart before the horse. Individuals can have whatever reason, family, opportunity, Pakistani khana acha lagta tha, God knows whatever the reason was to choose to come back. Structurally, if you want to make people come back, reverse brain drain, it's got to be economic opportunity. You have to generate that in the economy to make it attractive for people for that to happen. Okay? Now, would your brain drain get two different levels? So, we are not we really, Pakistan is not at the kind of the African level where of brain drain where you produce 1,000 doctors and 995 have left and join the NHS. हमारा ये मसला नहीं है. So especially the kind of skill development and skill manpower export that Omar was talking about, okay, it's brain drain, okay, so what? And especially 220 million, you got 20 to spare.
If I may comment, a quick comment on this. I think while I was an investment banker in New York, मेरे साथ वो हार्वर्ड का बंदा था, फिर येल का था, फिर स्टैनफोर्ड का था, फिर यूसेन का था, वो काफ़ी लोग खासे स्मार्ट लोग थे वहाँ पे मेरे एज यहाँ पे तो जब मैंने ये टाइलें बेचना शुरू की तो इतनी तालीम ही किसी की नहीं थी मेरे फील्ड में. So I think there's some arbitrage opportunity like that as well, number one. Number two, when you're working in a place like Pakistan, your risk-reward ratios are much higher. Your rewards can be dramatic as well. And I've practiced it, I've seen it. So the competition is there, but not as much there. So therefore, economic opportunity sometimes, surprisingly, you find a lot of it in Pakistan. I think it's very hard. So, yeah.
I just wanted to ask your feedback if somebody has a traditional old business, family business with a good brand, and they want to venture into e-commerce.
Right.
But online they are very weak and they don't have a brand online.
Right.
They don't have the right product or maybe,
right.
For example, furniture. So, what is the guidance that you want to give to that person?
One or two little comments about family businesses. I think family businesses are thriving around the world. They're doing very well, extremely well. And this is India, this is China, this is Germany, this is the US. So one should not heavily discount that. Multinational, on the other hand, you may remember Barbies was here, and Citibank was big, and A.B.N.M. was huge. No more to be found. Right? So a lot of them, and pharma sector, huge problems. So a lot of these international firms can be here, may be gone, may be here tomorrow. So I think we should not heavily discount the family enterprise, which is doing very well around the world, even in Pakistan. And I see some examples, not here, but in other places, we can't do this. Now coming back to your question, I think that the sooner you get on that, the better. I think this is a market opportunity that others will take or you will take. I think that one should have one's hands dirty कि ये बनता कैसे है, लकड़ी कहाँ से आती है, बनने की तरह क्या है, होता कैसे है, ये हम इसको कैसे improve कर सकते हैं. Introvert is a great example of that. So I think that if you could have your feet firmly on the ground, but keep aspiring for the virtual world, the IT aspect, tremendous.
Well, I'll just add one more thing. I think it's because the whole space of digital marketing has very little competition in Pakistan. You can tell that because the ad rates for Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. are super low in Pakistan. That means it's a great opportunity because very few people are doing it. आप ये अमेरिका में करके देखें ना तो वो ये पर क्लिक आपको $15 देना पड़ेगा. यहाँ पे करते हैं आपको 10 सेंट और 10 सेंट भी नहीं देने पड़ते.
एक्सेस बहुत बढ़ गया.
ये मैंने एडवर्टाइज किया फेसबुक पे.
जी.
मुझे तो वर्टेंस भी नहीं मिलेगी ना पॉपुलेशन.
नहीं. You mistaken. देखिए मैं I'll tell you the data for Pakistan. Pakistan has 15 million social users. 50 million. 50 million. This is October 2019 का data. Of the 50 million social users, 92% of them are on Facebook. That means, do the math, 45, 46 million users on Facebook. You tell me which advertising medium do you have access to that gives you access to 46 million people. It's off the charts. We're just not using it. We're literally just not using it.
Not using it well. So you have to define your market, you have to work with Facebook.
You have to understand.
My experience is that probably out of 42 million, probably just half of them would be capable enough to read and make a decision of an online purchase.
बिल्कुल ठीक है. बिल्कुल आपकी ठीक है.
बाकी शायद पढ़े लिखे भी उतने नहीं.
देखिए बात because when that number is big enough, आप उसको करते जाए, even then you come end up with a pretty big number. Let's say out of 42 million, you end up with 1% of the population that has an interest in your product. That's 400,000 people. Big number.
One last question.
Sure.
After working really quickly with multinational new service has come on, one of the biggest issues I've again seen is the bureaucratic red tape. When, again, for example, when Uber came in, when Green came in, they had to face the exact same thing, right? Like 50 people, one of the biggest issues with it. So
Same thing with this is like how can like a startup or like a new business venture that's coming in, how can that one soul or like one person, let's say goes into 200 or 300 people in his like first 3 months, how can that person have access to just getting around the red tape and
देखिए मेरी बात सुनो, ये पाकिस्तान की बात करें, let's compare ourselves to India, ठीक है? Let's take it at face value. If Pakistan made the bureaucratic red scale, red tape nonsense is 100, India will let's say it's 75. It ain't 10. Agreed? It's not 10. अगर पाकिस्तान में 100 तो 10 नहीं, तो 75 है, ठीक है? आप जो वेंचर पकड़ लेना पाकिस्तान में, जो भी नया डिजिटल वेंचर पकड़ लें, आप इंडिया में जाएंगे उसके उसी तरह के 20 फंडेड वेंचर है, यहाँ पे आपके पास एक भी शायद मुश्किल से नहीं है। Well, you're in protected territory. You're in Pakistan is a crazy place. Pakistan is the one country जहाँ पे are if you look at a ratio of venture capital to population, we are possibly the lowest country in the world. Okay, that means you're highly protected. Competition बहुत कम है. India वाले बेचारे को सोचो, उधर के entrepreneurs का सोचे, वो तो मर रहे बेचारे because इतना competition, हर चीज़ में 20 बंदे घुसे में, हर चीज़ में 50 बंदे घुसे में, all of them funded, ठीक है? आप तो आपने तो बॉर्डर एक टैरिफ वॉल खड़ी की हुई जिसका नाम है पाकिस्तानी एक्सट्रीमिज्म, वी आर अ क्रेजी कंट्री. Hey, it's working for all of us for right now. It's good. So I think I'm great. Enjoy the party. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Mani, who's the president of our alumni association.
Just a few words also. I'd like to thank everyone, panelists for coming here on behalf of Dr. Noor and HDSP. I think this was very informative, a lot of people got some great insights. So thank you very much for taking the time out today to come and provide a couple of tips for you.
A couple each or a couple?
Thank you. Panelists and for all the alumni who are over here. So please join us on the floor.